My name is Elaine. I am 51. I keep quiet when storms roll in, even inside a house, even at a table set with silver and steak knives. I live in a brick two-story on a calm street with trimmed lawns, smiling mailboxes, and secrets behind curtains. Tonight, my husband, Mark, lifts a crystal glass and smiles at me like a photo you frame and never dust. He thanks the room for believing in him and for trusting his leadership, and my pulse keeps time with the ice in my water. We have been married 25 years, and we have 2 grown kids who call on Sundays and forget on Wednesdays. We built a life of calendars and casseroles, of payroll weeks and promise rings, of late flights and early alarms. He works in operations at a big company with a bigger parking lot, and I manage the life that waits for him at home. This is his promotion dinner at the club, with linen napkins folded like swans and a view of a lake that looks peaceful but is deep. He stands and talks about teamwork and about one person who pushed a hard project across the line, and I notice that he does not look at me. He says the name fast, like a secret told between elevators, a soft female name I have never heard beside his, and the table nods. Laughter bubbles like champagne, but I feel a draft under the tablecloth, cold and careful, like a warning that does not want to be loud. I touch the edge of my steak knife and then pull my hand back because I am not a woman who makes a scene. Not yet. He is graceful with words tonight, which is funny because, at home, he is a man of grunts and sports and emails that never end. He raises the glass again and thanks the partner who stayed late in empty conference rooms, and my heart moves once and then waits. The manager at the end of the table looks down at his phone, then up at Mark, then away. As if the math in his head got hard, the room goes soft, like a photo taken with bad light, and I feel it, the shift, the first click of a lock I did not know was there. I smile and pick at dessert because sugar can hold a person together for 1 more minute. Mark's hand finds my shoulder as he sits, and it is warm, but it feels like he is drunk on himself, not on wine. He whispers, "Can you believe it?" And I say, yes, because anything is believable if you stare at it long enough. I file the name away in a place where I store things that will become tools, not weapons. Not yet. When we drive home, he sings with the radio like a teenager, and the night smells like gasoline and wet grass. He talks about bonuses and titles, and my mind walks through our house, opening drawers I have not opened in years. I see a printer in a spare room, and a file box with old taxes, and a small safe where we keep the dull papers that dull a life. By the time we turn onto our street, I have chosen quiet, because quiet is sharp when you aim it. At the door, his phone lights with a message that reads only, "Proud of you," and the same name glows back at me like a nightlight. He pockets the phone fast and kisses my cheek and tells me he is tired, and I say, "Of course," and the word lands like a seed. He thinks sleep is the end of a day, but I know it is the start of a plan. I stand in the dark kitchen and listen to the fridge hum and decide the hum will be my metronome. I am not fire. I am ice packed around something delicate, and I will not melt until I am ready. Tomorrow I will clean the coffee maker and the mailbox and the edges of a story he has begun without me. I will be the one who writes the ending with small strokes and steady hands. And when it comes, it will be quiet, and it will be final. And he will hear it, even in his sleep. The next morning, I find the hotel folio in the glove box when I look for spare napkins, and my hand goes very still. It is a duplicate printout, folded twice, with his name and a city he never mentioned for those dates. I do not feel shock. I feel order rising, like shelves aligning themselves. Receipts tell the truth when people refuse to, and this scrap of paper knows a lot. I take a photo with my phone, then slide the paper back where it was, because I am not here to tip a hand. I make coffee and pack his lunch and kiss his jaw and watch him drive away with a wave that looks like any other wave. Then I sit at the kitchen table with a notebook, a pen, and a quiet that fits my shoulders like armor. I draw 3 columns: date, place, charge, and I leave space for a 4th called pattern. I clean out drawers that hold old hotel keys and airline tags, and I scan what matters and shred what doesn't. I build a folder on the cloud with a boring name and a lock, and another on a flash drive that goes into my purse. The folio lists a room with 1 bed and 2 breakfasts, and my jaw tightens, then loosens, then sets again. I add the name from last night's toast to the margin, and the ink looks too dark on the page. At lunchtime, I call the card company and ask for duplicate statements for the last 12 months, and the hold music feels like confession. The envelopes will arrive in 7 to 10 days, and I circle the date on the calendar with a green marker like I'm watering a plant. I check our shared email and see e-tickets tucked into promotional clutter, and I forward them to my locked folder. I track the days he said, "late call," against flight times, and the lines touch. My hands shake once, and then they stop, because the body learns the shape of truth. I open the cabinet where we keep the handbooks from appliances and warranties, and I remember he has a company handbook too. I press my thumb to my teeth and decide to read it like scripture, line by line, rule by rule. I add another column to my notebook, policy. That night, he kisses me and tastes like mint and a story he will not tell. He says he might travel next week if the board asks, and I say, sounds good, because sounding good can be a shield. He falls asleep fast, and his phone dims on the nightstand, and the name from last night scrolled up an hour ago. I lie awake and count the seconds between breaths, and each one feels like a step down a long, clear hallway. In the morning, I pull the duplicate folio again and see a small line I missed. Corporate rate, reimbursable, and the word clicks. It is not just adultery. It is policy. It is theft dressed as teamwork. It is a door I know how to open. I smile at the coffee maker, and the steam fogs the window for a moment, as if the house is exhaling too. I write one more word under pattern: leverage. He leaves for work, and I iron a blouse, and I put on shoes that say, I have an errand. I'm going to the library to scan pages, and the bank to arrange a separate account that is lawful and mine. I will not rush, because rushing is loud and sloppy. I will move like a clock. By sundown, my folder is thicker, and my voice is thinner, and my plan is colder and clean. I open the company handbook on a Saturday like it is a hymnal and I am alone in an empty church. The pages smell like toner and caution, and the headings are stern as stone. I do not skim. I sit straight and read every line like it might save a life. In this case, it will save mine, and that is enough. The section on expenses is longer than I expected, which feels like a gift. There are bold lines about personal benefit, misrepresentation, and disciplinary action up to and including termination. There is a separate section on non-fraternization that is clean and hard like glass. I place sticky tabs, like bookmarks, to the future, and I number them in pencil. I take photos of each page and back them up, because paper disappears when people are scared. I highlight phrases that match the charges on the folio, and I can see the path forming. The words are dry, but they carry teeth, and I feel them bite into the story he gave to others. He called her a partner, and the handbook calls that something else when the charges sit beside it. I look up anonymous reporting, and the method is simple and timed and traceable enough for my needs. There is a secure email, a hotline, and a mailing address to the HR director, and I write all three on an index card. I will not use rage. I will use timestamps and the company's own language, because truth sounds best in its native tongue. I imagine a small brown envelope sliding across a desk while coffee steams beside it. I call an old friend who worked HR before she retired, and I speak in hypotheticals. She tells me documentation beats drama, and dates beat feelings, and policy beats tears. She says to protect myself first, legally and financially, and to gather, then act, then vanish from the center. I hang up and feel lighter and colder, like a winter morning that promises sun but gives frost. That night, Mark grills burgers and hums, and the grill pops like a small war. He tells me he will be late all week with post-promotion meetings, and I nod like a metronome. I ask for nothing, I offer nothing. I just watch which pocket he puts his phone in. He smiles at me, and the smile lands on the patio stones and shatters. After dishes, I sit with my notebook and draft a simple report with receipts, dates, and policy numbers. No adjectives, no apologies, no names except the ones already printed on paper he filed himself. I write the subject line, expense irregularities and potential policy violations, and I breathe out. Then I set a timer for the day it should arrive, a day after the big dinner he is planning, the one with speeches. I put the handbook away and lock the drawer and walk past our wedding photo without stopping. I am not erasing my life, I am editing it using the company's style guide. Soon, someone else will read what I have read, and they will have a job to do. And when they do it, I will already be 2 steps ahead, waiting in my calm. A week later, I sit in a small office that smells like paper and lemon, across from a forensic accountant with kind eyes and sharp habits. He clicks his pen and asks me to tell him what I know and what I can prove. I hand him the folder, and he lifts it like a doctor lifts a file before surgery. Numbers do not lie when you line them up, he says, and I nod. He starts a timeline on a whiteboard with dates, cities, charges, and the initials from the folios. He adds per diems, airline miles, and card statements to show a pattern of personal benefit. He circles late-night room service for 2 that hit at the same time as team meetings listed in emails. When he leans back, the board looks like a subway map to a place no one should go. He prints the charges and runs them through software that flags duplicates and unusual patterns. There are hotel chains that do not fit approved lists, and resort taxes in a city where a warehouse audit was scheduled. He points to a week where 2 rooms were billed, but only 1 traveler was approved, and the yellow highlighter glows. He does not ask me if I am sure. He asks me if I am safe, which is a better question. I give him my plan and my timeline, and he trims it like a hedge, neat and quiet. He suggests wording that reduces emotion and increases force, and he numbers the exhibits. He says HR will move faster with clean exhibits and policy citations, and I write down his exact words. When he finishes, the folder is lean and lethal, and my breath is steady. He asks if I want criminal charges. I say no. I want clean lines and a clean exit, and no handcuffs in my memories. He nods and says civil worlds can be colder and more final than criminal ones when money is the language. He tells me to meet a lawyer to protect my side accounts and my house, and he gives me a name. I pay him and keep the receipt, because receipts are how you honor truth. At home, Mark is cheerful and tired, and he jokes about babysitting new managers, and my smile is polite. He thinks he is juggling. I see balls labeled policy, cash, pride, and each one is heavier than he knows. He says the big dinner is set for Friday, and the speech will think the partner again, and I feel the floor tilt. I excuse myself and sit in the closet for a minute with the light off and breathe like a swimmer between laps. The accountant emails a summary memo with a clean title and a clean spine, and I drop it into the packet to HR. I schedule the email and prep a paper copy in a brown envelope with no return address because paper hums with gravity. When Friday comes, HR will be reading while he is celebrating, and the clock will be doing the cocking. I slide the packet into a drawer and close it gently, like I am tucking in a sleeping child. I iron a dress for the club and polish shoes that make no sound on carpet. I set the table in my mind where truths will be served in courses. I am almost ready to be calm in public while the fuse burns in private. And in that calm, I feel strong and new and made of winter. On Friday morning, I rehearse my face in the bathroom mirror until it looks like a quiet lake. No ripples, no wind, only depth, only stillness, only room for the sky to reflect. Calm is not fake when it is a choice, and today I choose it like armor. My plan is set, and my steps are small and exact. I drive to the post office with a brown envelope under a cookbook in my tote. I mail the packet to HR with tracking and stand there until the receipt prints. Then I send the scheduled email from a library computer with a fresh account and a clean subject line. By noon, the fuse is lit at both ends, and I go home to dress. I log into our bank and lawfully move my paycheck to the account my lawyer advised, one opened weeks ago, fully disclosed and fully mine. I list household items and serial numbers with photos because lists turn chaos into furniture. I place my passport and the deed copy in a folder that will ride with me in my handbag tonight. I set an auto upload on my phone for photos and documents because phones drown and people panic. I bake a small sheet of brownies for the cater staff and label it "Thank you" because kindness is part of my nature, even today. I text our kids, "Dinner tonight for Dad's news, love you," and they send heart emojis that ache. I set an alert on my phone for 8 p.m., which is when HR's inbox rules will forward my email to the director. The alert tone is soft, like a bell in fog, and I will hear it under the hum of a room. At the club, the room smells like butter and money, and the host says our name with a smile that does not matter. I shake hands and accept hugs and sit where I can see the door and the manager and the woman with the soft name. She is younger than me and shines like a new penny, and her laugh tilts toward him like a plant to the sun. I sip water, and my eyes feel like they belong to someone very patient. Mark stands, and the room hushes, and he speaks like a man who believes in his own myth. He thanks the board and the team, and then he thanks the one person again. And this time he says her full name with pride. The manager's jaw tightens, the VP blinks twice, and I hear my alert tone under the applause. I place my hand on the linen and feel the fabric cool my skin. Dessert arrives with sparklers on a slate, and the room cheers, and a server braves the candle smoke like a sailor in fog. My phone vibrates again, a second alert, delivered, for the paper packet sliding into HR with the morning mail. The room cannot know it, but the night splits here into before and after, into applause and audit. I look at Mark and smile a soft, true smile, because truth is coming with shoes on. We drive home through quiet streets, and he takes my hand at a red light like a man in a movie. He says, "We did it," and I say, "Yes," and the light turns green. He sleeps like a stone, and I fold my dress over a chair and put my phone on the dresser like a sentinel. When dawn comes, I will be ready and calm and colder than any room in that club. Saturday breaks clean and pale, and I move through the house like a draft that closes doors. I make coffee and butter toast and read a page of a book without seeing it. Mark mumbles about errands and a nap and a game on TV, and I nod. My phone blinks once with a calendar alarm named Next, and I stand up. I meet the lawyer at 9 in a room with quiet carpets and chairs that do not squeak. We review accounts, the house, the cars, the retirement plans, and the state guidelines that cut emotion out. She explains what is fair and what is possible and what is provable, and I sign where I must. We plan service for a weekday morning, the one right after HR calls him in. I stop at the bank and confirm beneficiaries and safe deposit access, and I breathe. I buy a new notebook with a hard cover and a pen that will not smear on copies. I photograph furniture tags and the jewelry I never wear and the art we bought on our 5th anniversary. I am not greedy, I am organized, and we will not argue over lamps. At home, I vacuum and water plants and do laundry like I am showing a house to a stranger. I print the list the lawyer gave me and tape it inside a cabinet door, hidden but close. I pack a small bag with essentials and leave it in the trunk with the toolkit and the blanket. If the day turns fast, I will not. Mark watches the game and laughs at plays, and my heart sits perfectly still. He asks what I am doing, and I say, tidying, and the word feels like both present and future. He naps and snores, and I scan his briefcase with my eyes and do not touch it. I still do not accuse, because accusation feeds denial, and I am hungry for different food. At dusk, he orders takeout and opens wine, and we sit on the couch like a married postcard. He tells me next week will be big, with budget talks and staffing, and I say, of course, and the words are a bridge to Tuesday. He yawns and kisses my hair and says, "We make a great team." And I say, "We did," and he does not hear the tense. The house smells like garlic and the end of something. Before bed, I take one last walk through the rooms and touch the backs of chairs and the cool of door frames. I place the service papers in a folder on the hall table, ready for the process server when the time is right. HR will call Monday, the meeting will be Tuesday, and my hand will be steady on Wednesday morning. The calendar holds the future, like a palm holds a small, bright coin. I sleep the sleep of a person who has done everything she can for one day. In the night, rain starts and runs down the gutters like a quiet verdict. By morning, the sky clears and the leaves shine, and the house waits for what it already knows. So do I, with calm that cuts, with love for myself that does not need permission. Monday at 9:12 a.m., his phone lights up on the counter with a work number I do not know. I hear the tone from the laundry room and feel the shift before I see his face. He answers and says, "Of course," and "right away," and "happy to clarify," but his eyes go flat. He grabs his keys and forgets his travel mug, which he never forgets. I wipe the counter in small circles and listen to the house breathe. Today is not loud. Today is precise. My email shows delivered and opened from HR at 8:03 a.m., which is earlier than I hoped. I text our kids, "Busy day, love you," and place the phone face down. By 10:40 a.m., a new calendar ping hits his shared account. Compliance review, Conference B. The invite includes the HR director and a name from legal that makes my chest cool. I sit at the table with my notebook and write the time in the margin like a witness. I do not pace. I fold towels and stack them by color. At noon, no call. At 1:20 p.m., a short text arrives. Running late, no dinner plans. He never texts like that. He always tells me where and when, even when he lies. The lack of detail feels like wind slipping through a cracked window. At 2:05 p.m., the garage door moans open and then closes. He walks in slow, sets down his keys, and takes off his shoes like they are heavy. He says, "Annoying check-in, someone sent garbage," and tries a laugh that dies on the tile. I pour him water and say, "You okay?" And he says, "Of course," and swallows hard. He tells me they want copies of receipts, travel logs, and context, and he says the word like it will save him. He adds, "Couple of charges looked strange to them," and looks past me at the window. I nod and say nothing because silence is a mirror and he cannot hold his own eyes. His phone vibrates and he flips it over so the screen faces the table. At 3:13 p.m., another call comes in from security, not HR. He steps outside to take it and returns pale with a line between his brows that was not there at breakfast. "Temporary badge hold," he says, like a man reading a fortune he does not believe. He adds, "standard," and the word falls like a spoon on concrete. He goes to his office to organize paperwork, but I know he is searching for a thread to pull. I email my lawyer, "badge hold confirmed," and attach the time. I move the service envelope from the hall table to the entry console where no one will miss it. Tomorrow morning will be clean and on paper and final. Tuesday dawns with a sky the color of copy paper. He dresses in the promotion suit and the promotion tie and knots it twice. He says, "Just clearing things up," and smiles with his teeth, not his eyes. I hand him his coffee and watch the door close like a page turning. I drop the service packet into my tote and drive to the attorney's office. We review the plan, serve after his meeting, protect the accounts, keep the house stable. She reminds me to speak only in facts if he argues, and to step away if he raises his voice. I agree, though I know he will not raise it, not today. At 10:02 a.m. he texts, "In, now," and the words look small. At 10:47 a.m., nothing. At 11:33 a.m., a new message arrives. They want the laptop for imaging, and I can hear the lids closing. I reply, "Okay," and mean it. At 12:18 p.m., he calls and says he will be working from home for a few days. He says it like a gift. It lands like a sentence. He adds that it is standard during compliance reviews, and I taste metal. I tell him I'll pick up sandwiches, and he thanks me twice. I meet the process server in a parking lot by the pharmacy. We confirm the name, the description, the time window, the route to my street. He is kind and quiet and says it will be polite and quick, which is all I want. The envelope is thick enough to make a sound when it moves. At 1:10 p.m., the garage door lifts. He walks in with the laptop bag, but no laptop, and his hands look empty. He says, "We're fine," and the word floats and then drops. I set the sandwiches out and he eats like he is trying to remember how. The doorbell rings at 1:27 p.m. and he wipes his mouth with a napkin. The server asks, "Mark?" and hands him the envelope with a simple, practiced sentence. He freezes, looks at me, looks down, and reads the first line like it is in another language. I say, "Please have counsel review," and my voice does not shake. He sits on the edge of the couch with the envelope in his lap. He says my name once, like a question without a mark. I go to the guest room and close the door and sit on the bed and count to 100. The house makes a new sound, and it is the sound of us ending. Wednesday brings emails with subject lines that matter. One is from HR to him, administrative leave, effective immediately. Another is from legal, expense review findings, action items. I do not open them. I do not need to. My lawyer reads, summarizes, and smiles without joy. The company offers him a resignation path to avoid termination on record. Restitution for misused funds is required, and cooperation with the audit is mandatory. The phrases are cool and practiced, and they do not blink. He paces the living room with his phone to his ear, saying misunderstanding and context and loyalty. He looks smaller when he says those words, like clothes that do not fit. He tries, "There was nothing physical," and I stare at a point on the wall until the paint blurs. My silence makes more sense than any debate. He asks to talk, and I agree, but only at the table and only with the envelope between us. He says he was lonely, he was pressured, he was grateful for her help, he was stupid. I say, the company card bought dinners for two, and slide the printed folios toward him. He closes his eyes like the room has bright lights. He brings up the kids and the house and the years and the holidays we have booked. I bring up the policy numbers and the handbook pages he never read. He says, "Can we fix this quietly?" And I say, "We are," and watch the truth land. The quiet is not mercy. It is design. The forensic accountant sends a short memo to my lawyer. Totals, dates, restitution figure. Legal sends a draft separation agreement within the hour, more efficient than sorrow. The offer is clean. The house to me, retirement split per statute, no alimony, restitution his alone. I initial each page like a person dotting I's on a map out of a storm. By Friday, he signs his resignation, and the company issues a bland statement no one will remember. He sends a wire to cover restitution, and the number looks like a lesson he can count. He asks again for a second chance, eyes wet, voice low, hands open. I say, "I wish you well," and mean it in the oldest, coldest way. My lawyer files, and the court schedules the rest, and the calendar gains new weight. I change the locks with a polite note and a time window for his pickup. He takes his clothes and his trophies and leaves the frames behind because they do not hold. I vacuum the hall and feel each stripe like a fresh line on a page. The first morning alone is quiet in a way that feels like weather clearing. Sun finds the floor and makes a long gold stripe toward the back door. I stand in it with coffee and bare feet and breathe like the body remembers how. The house does not ache. It exhales. I book a counseling appointment and a dentist visit and a roof inspection, all the things I postponed. I open a new checking account and a new library card and a new notebook for plans. I hang a calendar with only my handwriting on it. It looks like a field after snow when no one has walked through yet. The kids come by Sunday and I tell them the truth in clean sentences. They ask hard questions, and I answer with dates and not with drama. They hug me tight and then call him, and that is right, because he is still their father. I make soup, and we eat it slowly and let the house teach us its new shape. The partner transfers to another division, and I know because people talk when rooms fall quiet. I see her once in a grocery store, and we do not speak. Her face is young and scared, and then blank, and I push my cart past the lemons. Not every lesson belongs to me to deliver. Friends call and choose sides, and I choose peace. I prune the roses, replace the porch bulb, and donate the golf clubs he never used. I keep the good knives and the heavy skillet and the recipe box with my mother's handwriting. I do not keep the old stories about myself. On the first day of fall, I move the wedding photo to a box marked past, and it feels like taking off a tight ring. I frame a photo of the lake from our last calm summer and put it on the mantel. It reminds me that water can look still and still be strong. So can I, and I am. He writes one last letter asking for a conversation and a chance. I send one page back through counsel with 3 sentences. I learned the rules. I used them. I am done. There is no anger left in those lines, only design and distance. Cold revenge is not heat. It is order that works. I lock the door each night, and the lock sounds like a period at the end of a long sentence. I sleep and wake and work and walk and learn the rhythm of a life with no alarms set by someone else. Respect was not a gift here. It was a structure I built and stood inside until it held. This is my house and my peace and my lesson, and it is final.